I do not condone nor promote any of the acts of hate and ideologies shown in the video. This is merely done for film purposes.
The year is 2000. America won the Cold War against the Soviets 9 years ago, and the humble Republic of Iraq was doing, terrible. Iraq overwent 9 years of straight war and eating shit in basically every single conflict, including fighting Iran in basically every Gulf state, and along with this, Iraq had mass insurgency in the Kurdish regions of the nations. Now by doing this, the nation was incurring tremendous debts to other countries, including Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Japan, and the United States. Therefore, starting in January 19th, Saddam Hussein would begin his plan to kickstart the Iraqi economy and military. The first way of reforming the army was to improve the infantry and overall arms of the troops. This was done by buying Russian weapons and buying licenses to make similar Iraqi custom AK-74s, called the AK-74s Iraq. Now with these reforms done in the army, Iraq modernized the infantry portion of the army and strengthened relations with the Russian Federation. Finally, by the date of August 26th, Iraq was finished with the reforms and could start mass production of the materials. But Iraq still had massive problems, that being the debts owed. 1,561% of the economy was in debt, being exactly $131 billion in USD, which Saddam and the Iraqi government knew they could never pay this off. So therefore, Iraq ignored the debt, and also decided to increase it for no fucking reason, eventually leading to the opening of 12 factories in Iraq designated for military production. Now while definitely helping the Iraqi military, the economy was screwed because of this, taking out massive loans from China and Saudi Arabia, increasing Iraq's already high debt. But overall, besides the debt problem, Iraq was fine, probably being able to defend against most threats that were opposed. Starting the year 2001, Iraq would invest about 353,700,000,000 Iraqi dinars, or about 270 million USD, into oil extraction industries, in an attempt to create a larger oil export to the rest of the world, which thankfully a contender for oil prices was in insurgency, being Syria from an independent military civil war, where 5.3% of the world's oil would be absent from the global market, leading to oil prices increasing slightly and giving Iraq more profit. Now during these economic expansions, the United States would begin to militarize in Kuwait, specifically in the American base of Camp Doha, which Iraq and its government saw this as a big threat. Therefore, Iraq cut back on the oil program and started to conscript more men into the Iraqi ground forces, while building fortifications on the border with Kuwait. Now while the United States was making petitions to invade Iraq for the United Nations, Iraq knew the invasion wouldn't happen until 5 months from the date of June 12, 2001. So therefore, Iraq wanted to take advantage of the Syrian civil war, which turned into Iraq sending the second-in-command al-Duri to help the military government crush Assad. Now, this helped Iraq in two ways. First, it allowed Iraq to destroy any other enemy against the state. And second, it allowed Iraq to create a counter-coup against the military. Now, eventually by the day of September 7th, the war ended, of course in Iraq's favor, leading to the creation of the Ba'athist Regional Command of Syria being established under al-Duri. So when the United States found out Iraq's influence was expanding, outrage was an understatement, building up to George Bush's announcement of the invasion of Iraq. While the United States was preparing to invade southern Iraq, many Kurdish groups would rise, including the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan and the Kurdish Democratic Republic. But it was point clearly that the Kurdish groups ate shit against Iraq. Most of this was due to having weak front lines and no supplies, which ultimately led to the capitulation of the Western aligned Kurds in the region. Now, with the rest of the Kurdish forces hiding, the majority of the Iraqi forces would protect the southern border, which was right after the United States would reach al-Muthanna. About 91% of the Iraqi army was on the border with the United States, and defeat was shown from both sides. Defeat shown from Iraq were the attempts to bomb supply lines from Camp Doha, but the United States also showed defeat from the unsuccessful attempts to kill Saddam via airstrikes. Now, while Iraq took more casualties and eventually was labeled a war criminal by countries being mostly the United States and Israel, it didn't fucking matter. Iraq already knew they won the war. The United States' goal to swiftly end the Ba'athist rule of Iraq and control Baghdad failed, which from this being apparent, the United States military knew they were going into a war that would last forever, and not being the quick 6-week invasion that was told to the troops. This would cause worsening military and public support for the Iraq campaign.